Okay. All right. Check the settings real quick. Audio, video microphone. Okay. Good to go. Okay. All right. Have another donut. Episode 1 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On Thursday night, the New Jersey Devils began a fresh new season against rival Philadelphia. Last season Devils fans were dealt a lot of bad medicine. From several stars making extended injury reserve list appearances to a revolving door of goaltenders and call-ups from Utica, the Devils were living on a prayer all season long. But at times last season, we were given a shot to the heart by being treated to glimpses of greatness from Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, and Nico Hischier. At times, coaching decisions from Lindy Ruff made us want to run away. At times, they couldn't close out games, and they often went out in a blaze of glory. But there were other times when this team made us keep the faith. When they looked like could take on anyone and win. This season looks to be a make or break season for Ruff and possibly general manager Tom Fitzgerald. Will it be a backdoor to heaven with a playoff appearance? Or at the end of the season, or possibly earlier, will it be Judgment Day? Are Devils fans going to need something for the pain? Or can they say that we rule the night? By April and season's end, we'll know what kind of team this was, and either they're sending postcards from the wasteland of another missed playoff appearance, or they'll have a nice day as one of 16 teams competing for Lord Stanley's Cup. Win or lose, the Devils will be my team with every beat of my heart. And with apologies to Bon Jovi, it's time for the first episode of Have Another Donut, the New Jersey Devils podcast.
Because you fell, you fat pig! Have another donut! Have another donut!
Yes, that's right. That's right, folks. It's the first episode of Have Another Donut, a New Jersey Devils podcast. It's presented by Gozilla Media. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I am your humble host for this new podcast venture. It's our first hockey-centric podcast here on Gozilla Media. I'm very happy to bring it to you. And it's New Jersey Devils centric podcast. We'll be talking hockey as well throughout the entire regular season of the NHL. But before I go into things and as to what this podcast entails, let me go ahead and tell you about our social media channel. Right now, our only social media channel is Twitter, which is right down here at Devil's Donut Pod. Subscribe to the podcast. Anchor is our home base here at Gozilla Media, but you can also find us on your preferred podcast platform. And while you're at it, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Like this video, leave a comment. I may read it on the air. Keep it PG-13, folks. Keep it PG-13. All right. So a little bit about me. Again, my name is Ryan McCarthy. I reside in the Saratoga region of upstate New York, and I have been a lifelong New Jersey Devils fan. I've been following the team since 1988. It's 1988 Stanley Cup playoffs when they went on that pretty miraculous run. And I've been following the team ever since. And hockey's been another sport I've followed. I mean, football is usually right now is my forebearing. I mean, like a football in the front of my mind always, but hockey's always been kind of like a background passionate sport that I follow. I love the New Jersey Devils. I'm originally from New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey, hence the reason why I follow the New Jersey Devils. And that's the reason why I got into hockey is because I followed the New Jersey Devils. Been following since fifth grade. In seventh grade was when I really started to become a big hockey fan. When I went to an Adirondack Red Wings game locally. I live in between Albany and Glens Falls, so I go to Albany River Rats games. I'd also go to Adirondack Red Wings games. When the Devils were back in town, it was the Albany Devils, or go to Adirondack Phantoms or the Flames. We had minor league hockey here for quite a long time. That's where I really started to develop my passion for the game. And I remember in high school, my senior year of high school, it was the best weekend of my entire life, up to this point. And as a sports fan, I mean, as a sports fan, I graduated from high school the Friday of that weekend of Game 4. Devils win the Stanley Cup that weekend. Then I had my graduation party the next day. So it was a great weekend as far as being a sports fan. Probably my favorite weekend of sports fandom ever as a hockey fan. And I'm a terrible fan in the respect that I've only been to 2 games in New Jersey. I went to game 4 of the 2003 Eastern Conference Final against Ottawa, and I went to last season's New Year's Eve game. But guess what, folks? Guess what? Whenever I'm a good luck charm, so whenever I come to New Jersey, the Devils always win. So if I ever watch the game live, the Devils always win. So if I ever go back to New Jersey this season, if I go back to New Jersey this season, I have a and I go to a game, chances are they're going to win. And the funny thing is that, and then we'll go back to the Albany River Rats. When I got my first car, I made as many trips down to the Pepsi Arena, what was then known as the Pepsi Arena, but is now known as the MVP Arena. I would go there as much as I could to watch the Albany River Rats. And the reason why I watched the Albany River Rats is because that the Albany River Rats was the AHL affiliate for the New Jersey Devils. And it was awesome to see so many stars. And if you go back to, I also host a podcast called No Credentials Required. It's another Gozilla Media offered podcast. You can find it on any platform. I actually did a top 10 list of athletes who have played hockey, who have come to this area. So basically, if you were on a minor league team at some point in your career, you played here. I ranked those players, and actually 3 of those players were Albany River Rats: Sergey Brylin, Brian Ralston, Patrick Eliash. All of them were at one time Albany River Rats players. They played for the Albany River Rats. Sergey Brylin was the probably the longest tenured one of the list, but I can rattle off a bunch of names to you. Besides Eliash, Ralston, Brylin, Peter Sikora played. Zach Parise played here for a season during the NHL lockout 2005. I remember Sheldon Surrey played here. He played a bit of his career here before he was traded to Montreal and spent a good majority of his career in Montreal. Trying to think of some other guys who have come and gone as Albany River Rats who have played for the New Jersey Devils. Jimmy Dowd. Jimmy Dowd was an Albany River Rat in I believe 1993 and 1994 before he went to the Devils and played a big role in their Stanley Cup run in 1995. Had that big goal in Game 2, and which basically won the game for the Devils and gave them a 2-0 lead. So I got to see it was really thrilling to see a lot of those guys come through the area. And I continued to follow minor league team even after they had after the affiliation ended with the Devils after the 2005 season, and they switched over to Carolina and Colorado for a season before becoming Carolina centric. And then the Devils came back to town in 2011. So they moved back from Lowell. Lou Lamoriello moved the team back from Lowell to Albany because the River Rats were bought and sold. They were purchased by the Carolina Hurricanes and relocated back to Charlotte, where they become the Checkers. They became the Carolina Hurricanes minor league affiliate, and for 6 seasons, the Devils were back in town, so you'd see guys come up and down. Henrique was one name I remember just succinctly. Kenny Blackwood, former Albany Devils, Albany Devil. Um, Damon Severson. He played in Albany for a few years before going up to New Jersey. So we have Albany area has a lot of history in terms of having the New Jersey Devils in town, and it's great to see all those teams come through and see all these players come through and develop and get in. If you see them on TV, you go, "Hey, I watched that guy." Steve Sullivan, another guy who came through and played for the River Rats before he was traded to, I believe, either he was traded or he was selected by the Nashville Predators in the in 1997. Brendan Morrison is another guy who can think of. He was traded for Alexander. He was part of the package that was he was traded to Vancouver for Alexander McGillney in that trade in 2000. So Albany has a connected history. The Albany area has a connected history with the New Jersey Devils, and that's part of the reason why I became a very passionate fan. And the Albany area, specifically Glens Falls, which is where again I'm between Glens Falls and Albany. Glens Falls currently has a team connected with the New Jersey Devils and the Adirondack Thunder. They're the ECHL, the East Coast Hockey League's affiliate for the New Jersey Devils. So they're actually the feeder system for the Utica Comets. Utica Comets, as you know, if you're a Devils fan, they're connected with the New Jersey Devils. They're the feeder system for the New Jersey Devils. So it's awesome to see to still have that connection, which keeps my my fandom going. So it's awesome to see. It's fun to see. Another fun fact for you: I was actually team chaplain for the Albany Devils from 2011 to 2017. So yeah, that was a really cool to see some of those guys who were here in Albany come to Chapel, eventually go to the NHL or different places. Some of them are still with Albany, or some of them are still with New Jersey. Some of them are elsewhere these days, and it's really awesome to see guys say, "Hey, I got to minister to this guy. This is really cool." So we're gonna move on from about me, and I want to tell you what to expect on this particular podcast. I'm actually wearing my New Jersey Devils t-shirt right now. Go Devils! So I want to tell you what you're going to expect on this podcast going forward. Uh, One, obviously, you're going to expect coverage of the New Jersey Devils. I'm going to go on a weekly basis. I'll talk about the games. I'll give you breakdowns. I'll give you some opinions on gameplay, and just and spotlight different players. Who I thought my player of the week was. Who I think some guys need improvement. There's a lot to talk about for the first two games of the season, which I'll get to in just a moment. But I'll give you some breakdown of the games. I'll give you some breakdowns. We had 2 games this weekend. We got 3 games this week, and I'll talk about them and try not to go too deep in depth. I don't want to lose anybody in the terminology and whatnot, but I'll give you my opinion on how the team is doing. I'll give you my opinion about games and which players need to step up and which players are doing great and what I think the coaches should be doing. I'll also be giving you coverage of the Devils minor league affiliates in Utica and Glens Falls. And what's really cool is that I live at an hour and a half from Utica. Utica's an hour and a half west of from where I am, and Glens Falls is about another 25 minutes up from north of me. So I'll be connecting those dots too, as well, in addition to the regular New Jersey Devils team. So I'll give you some updates from Utica, some updates from Adirondack. Let you know how those teams are doing. And I'm also going to do my best to have interviews. I'll be seeking out writers, whether it be for beat writers for different news publications or blog writers, different podcast hosts. I'll try to get some former players on, and I'll get some different people giving you perspective about Devils hockey because it can't be just me. It can't be just me on this podcast giving you my opinion about what the Devils are doing, and it should be it should we should have I should have more voices giving their opinion as well. So, hey, interviews with different bloggers, different podcast hosts, try to get some beat writers on, maybe some former players. I follow a couple of former players on Twitter. So I'll reach out to them and see if they want to talk some Devils hockey, talk about their days with the New Jersey Devils, and just talk about hockey in general and what they're doing post career. And it'll be really cool. It'll be a really cool thing to do. And I know some people who are connected with the hockey world. I know my shout out to my brother in other brother at Belly Up Sports, who I'm also affiliated with. Not this podcast in particular, but with no credentials required, I have affiliations with Belly Up Sports. Maybe we'll do a forum about the season, how things are going so far. So there's gonna be a lot to talk about this year and what to expect in this podcast. I'm gonna try to keep this podcast very abbreviated today, only because it's 9:32 p.m. on a Sunday night, and this is the first episode. So hopefully it's the first of many, and I get to talk about one of my favorite teams, one of my favorite hockey team, which is really exciting. So all right, so in speaking of the season so far, let's talk about the first 2 games of the season for the New Jersey Devils. Um, they're not that great. Those 2 games, they were not great. I watched Thursday's game. They took on the Philadelphia Flyers. They scored the first goal in that game, and wind up losing that game 5-2. Same thing happened on Saturday night's game against Detroit. Scored the first goal in that game at home, and then subsequently give up 4 goals in the second period, wound up losing that game 5-2. So far, the New Jersey Devils have allowed 10 goals in the first 2 games. Technically, the goaltenders have technically given up 9. Only 1 goal was an empty net goal in very, very garbage time against Philadelphia, and they pulled the goalie. They pulled, excuse me, Mackenzie Blackwood with just under 5 minutes left in the game in the third period. And yeah, it's kind of like Marty McFly in the Back to the Future, where he travels back in time to 1955, and he says to the kids, "Hey, I've seen this episode of The Honeymooners before," and they're like, "What are you talking about? This is brand new." But no, we've seen that movie before, where the goalie's pulled very, very early, and empty net goal happens. So let's talk about the offensive problems. Devils aren't really able to finish capitalize on extra man opportunities. I believe they're 1 for the season, and it was Alexander Holtz who got that first goal. He was a power play goal, and Holtz is there for a reason. So he scored a lot of goals with Utica this year. Everybody thought he was going to be part of this lineup this season, and Devils they're not able to finish goals. Um, Carter Hart played on his head the other night when the ice was tilted in the third period. Saturday night's game, Alex Nedeljkovic played on his head. The shots on goal were 32 to the Devils had 32 shots on goal in the first 2 periods on Saturday night and only got 2 past him. And one of those goals was a beautiful goal by Miles Wood. I'll talk about him in a few minutes. But they're just not able to capitalize. Jack Hughes had 4 shots on goal in 2 periods against Detroit. Couldn't get, and they were great opportunities. They're point blank right there. Nedeljkovic just played he played better. Defensively, I think this is where the New Jersey Devils really struggle. Lapses and unlucky bounces. There seem to be a lot of defensive lapses in terms of the New Jersey Devils. And the way they play their system, and Lindy Ruff plays his system, he seems to have forwards in front of the net. And that's you can't do that. You have to have your at least one defenseman in front of the net, trying not to allow us and an opportunity to the other team. We saw it if you watched on Saturday night. You saw it against Philadelphia on Thursday. You saw it a lot in the second period against Detroit on Saturday, and that period was just bonkers in terms of how many defensive lapses the Devils had, how many bad bounces went in Detroit's favor, especially towards the end of the period when Vitek Vanecek lost his stick after a shot, couldn't get his stick back, and Dylan Larkin scores with what, zero point 0.9 seconds left in the period. And Detroit earned that goal, and good on them. They worked hard. They got that goal, and they were the beneficiary of a couple lucky bounces with the Devils, and especially also when the Devils had defensive lapses. So they got to work on this in their defensive game. 10 goals in 2 games, especially the first 2 games of the season, has a tendency to have a snowball effect. And when that snowball effect happens, bad things happen. Now, goaltending, there are some issues there, some soft goals, some big, juicy rebounds, especially on opening night. some bad breaks on defense that were leading to goals, especially in the Detroit game. You saw that a lot in the Detroit game, especially in the second period. That one goal uh, that was scored in the second period, I believe the game-winning goal, uh, was a bad bounce. The puck right past got past Ryan Graves, and it led to a scoring opportunity for Detroit. They wound up winning that game. Another bad bounce when I believe it was Severson was trying to get the puck loose, and it wound up bouncing off a Red Wings player right in front, and Detroit scores a goal, and they wound up going up 4-2 in the period. It was actually the goal before Dylan Larkin's goal. So some goaltending problems here and there, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of lapses on defense and a lot of unlucky bounces on the Devils' way. So this week, schedule this week, home on Tuesday versus Anaheim, Thursday at the New York Islanders, and then back home Saturday against the San Jose Sharks. So 3 decent teams. Anaheim, we know about Trevor Zegras, we know about Troy Terry. All those young guys are a year older. Anaheim almost made the playoffs last year, so they're a playoff contending team. They're looking to leapfrog somebody in that Pacific Division to earn themselves either a wild card spot or one of the top 3 spots. New York Islanders, bad year last year. I think last year they had some really bad breaks. Their schedule 13 games on the road to start the year. Then they had a COVID outbreak, which just made them catch up, and they ran out of steam. This year, hopefully, there won't be the same. It won't be the same for them in terms of the COVID outbreak, uh, or for any team at all with an outbreak. So they're at UBS Arena for that game. And they're back at home Saturday night versus an up and coming San Jose team. Hopefully, the Devils will win one of those 3 games, and we'll see a much better effort defensively. So, one really cool thing in terms of numbers wise, Miles Wood scored his first goal this season. Beautiful goal. If you look at the highlights, they scored 7 seconds after the Red Wings had taken the lead, and he comes out the gate. He scores in front. He wears number 44, and he scored 4 minutes and 44 seconds into the second period. So, numerologists, you know where to find me. You know where to find me. All right, so we're gonna move on from this segment, but next, what we're gonna do is talk about our friends at Gozilla Media. One of our friends at Mohawk Honda, and the fall is here. They want to buy your car. Hey, just like that, it's fall. Crisp morning air, pumpkin muffins, pumpkin spice lattes, UGG boots. Well, oh, wait, if you're a basic white girl. Beautiful foliage, great fall colors, just like that, it's fall. Seasons may change, but one constant is the buying experience at Mohawk Honda, where you are greeted with a smile and you're treated with respect. The new vehicle inventory is ramping up too with pilots, passports, and ridge lines. Remember, this is the best time ever to sell your vehicle. Mohawk Honda buys cars. And in some cases, you may be able to sell it for more than what you paid for it. Just another advantage you'll get from the number one volume dealer in the capital region. General Manager Greg Johnson and his team of sales consultants are always available to help you in the buying process. And we have big news. Scott Moynihan is back at Mohawk Honda. He brings his 30 plus years of automotive experience with him. Stop in and welcome Scott home. You can also find my guy, Easy Evan Whalen. He got me into the loving arms of a 2016 Honda HRV. Yes, the season has changed, but at Mohawk Honda on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia or online at mohawkhonda.com, we always go out of our way to please you. So let me give you 5 bold predictions this season for the New Jersey Devils. And I know we're 2 games in already, but I had some predictions in mind. I was gonna write them in an article, but unfortunately I kinda ran out of time. And I figured with the genesis of this particular podcast, I want to give you my 5 bold predictions for this up and coming season, 2022 2023. My first prediction: Jack Hughes finishes the season with 80 plus points. It's kind of a no brainer. Right now, he's kind of struggling, trying to find the net, trying to find the back of the net. But he also is very adept at passing. But last year, I thought he would have a breakout season. Last year, he scored the game winner in game one, an electrifying goal when he called game in the second part of the season. In the second game of the season against Seattle, he had 2 points, and then all of a sudden, Jeremy Lazon ends his season, but he flips him over, bad hockey injury, and he separates his shoulder. He's out for 6 weeks. Jack comes back, has a really nice point streak going, leads the Devils in scoring, and then all of a sudden goes out of the lineup. He goes to the All Star game where he should have won MVP. FYI, not Claude Giroux. Jack Hughes is my MVP for the 2022 All Star game, and he comes back and he's got the Rona, so he's out for a week or two. Comes back, still on his point streak, and then he winds up getting a knee injury and he's shut down for this season. I predicted he would have over 60 points last year. He had 58. He had 58 in 46 games played. 58 in 46 games. That's more than a point per game. And if he had played a full 80 game schedule, he would have scored 80 points. Or 82 game schedule, he would have scored at least 80 points. I think he does that this season. He just needs to stay off of IR. Hopefully that happens. Hopefully the Devils fans will get to see this young star start to become a big star. I think you'll see the NHL has turnover in terms of points, in terms of stars, and Jack Hughes dazzled last year's All-Star game. They got his name in front of the lights. He's got his name. He's on everybody's radar right now in terms of the NHL. I think if you're an NHL fan, you don't know who Jack Hughes is, and all of a sudden you hear New Jersey Devils and you immediately think boring hockey. It's not. New Jersey Devils are not a boring hockey team anymore. And you're about to see my frame, my cat tag along. He is the official mascot of Have Another Donut, a New Jersey Devils podcast. He's also the official mascot of No Credentials Required. Um, so Jack Hughes, I think he scores 80 plus points this season. Next bold prediction: Miles Wood wins the Masterton Trophy. Last year, he played in this many games. He played in this many games. Hi, buddy. He played in 3 games all year last year, and he got off to a good start on Saturday night with that big goal. I think he's gonna earn himself if he has a big enough. I think he's gonna have a breakout season this year. He's playing third and fourth line respectively. He's a fast guy. He's a pest. He's got team speed. He's got speed, and he'll either beat you in the back of the net. He'll excuse me. Oh, tag along. So he'll beat you with speed. He'll beat you at the back of the net, or he'll just beat you up. So Miles Wood has that grit, has that sandpaper type mentality that I believe it is the ability to take teams to new heights. And I think New Jersey Devils fans will be happy to see Miles Wood back on the ice, especially after last year where he only played this many games, 3. And I think he wins I think he walks away with the Masterton Trophy. I think he's going to win that trophy. He's going to have a great year, and uh, he'll earn himself that opportunity to win that trophy. So that's my second bold prediction. My third bold prediction is that Jonas Siegenthaler, he'll emerge as the Devils' top defenseman. He had a pretty good season last year. Yes, you might say Dougie Hamilton's the top defenseman. Yeah, in terms of payroll, sure, but and he does. Dougie Hamilton does all the things that you want him to do in the back line. You want him to hit guys. You want him to score when he needs to score. He's on the power play, but I think Jonas Siegenthaler, good year last year. I thought it was a great trade pickup, and at the end of the 2021 season, and he's emerging as one of the probably the top defenseman on the team. I think he emerges in terms of shutdown defense as a defensive defenseman. I think he'll be that top guy this year. So that's my third bold prediction. My fourth bold prediction, and this is probably a no crap Sherlock prediction, but I think Lindy Ruff will be fired within the first 2 months of the season. And I want to show you this clip courtesy of Devils Red Alert on Twitter from opening night. And this kind of tells you the story about the season so far. I mean, how Lindy Ruff was treated on opening night uh, by the New Jersey Devils crowd.
And the head coach for your Devils is Lindy Ruff. And now for your Devils.
Yeah, you could read his if you're watching on if you're watching on the Gozilla Media web page, YouTube page, but you're not watching at home. If you're not listening at home, he literally mouths the words, "Are they effing booing me?" Yes, they are. They are. Devils fans are very disappointed in the way the Lindy Ruff era has turned out. Yes, they can score goals, but they also have problems stopping opportunities by other teams to score goals. And the shelf life of a coach, this goes for any league, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. The shelf life of a coach is only for so long. And from what I understand, and this is rumblings from Devils fans, Devils all day, all night, Facebook page, shout out to them. From what I understand, he came on the cheap. He's only here on the cheap. He's only here for a million and change because the Devils didn't want to pay because ownership didn't want to pay $4 or $5 million for Gerard Gallant. And to think this team could be so much better with Gerard Gallant as their head coach behind the bench. Heck, I mean, I would take excuse me, excuse you. I would take yeah, that happened. Oh, folks, recording. I would take Barry Trotz at this point. Barry Trotz is a head coach. He won a Stanley Cup with Washington, and he almost went to two straight Stanley Cups with the with the with the New York Islanders. He almost took him to two straight uh, Eastern Conference Final with the Islanders. So you have to figure that that ownership is going to have to pay some time for a head coach, for a marquee head coach. I mean, they brought in Andrew Brunette, who should have won the Jack Adams Trophy last year with the Florida Panthers uh, when all that coaching change was going on. Well, then with the Joe Quenneville scandal going on, and he was forced to resign, Andrew Brunette came in and he led the Panthers to the second round of the playoffs, to the Atlantic Division final, basically. So I think Andrew Brunette will be Devils head coach, not associate coach. I think he'll be the head coach within the first 2 months of the season. I know it's kind of a no crap, Ryan. I know a lot of Devils fans saying, no, yeah, no kidding, Ryan. But it'll happen. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen, especially the performance of the first 2 games of the season. If this continues, ownership, Tom Fitzgerald's going to have to do something, or ownership's going to have to do something. And Devils fans are very. Look, I'm also a New York Jets fan, and we fans have been in a state of restlessness for the last decade and a half. Devils fans are feeling the same way. One playoff appearance since 2012 Stanley Cup final. One playoff appearance, one. And Devils fans are, I mean, Jets fans too, but Devils fans are itching for a winner. They're itching for somebody who can lead them to the promised land. John Hines was supposed to be that guy. Didn't turn out to be that way. I'm glad he's having success in Nashville now, but he couldn't do the job in New Jersey, and I don't think Lindy Ruff's the guy in New York. God bless him for being here. I mean, great. He's good for the young guys, and the team guys in the locker room seem to like him, especially Jack Hughes. But the shelf life of a head coach in any professional league just stays fresh for so long before you have to switch things out, before the expiration date comes, and you have to switch them out. My final bold prediction is that the Devils will finish with at least 15 more points than last season. However, they'll still miss the playoffs. Last year, the New Jersey Devils finished with 63 points. Wasn't a great season again. I think the way this team and the first two games, they may not be an indicator of how the rest of the season is going to go. I don't think they'll go 0-82. I don't think any team in this league will go 0-82 this year. I think the Devils will find their footing somewhere, whether it be by firing a head coach or moving on from a head coach, switching coaches, or tightening up that defense, or finishing on offense, putting the puck in the back of the net and stopping, and also on defense stopping goals and not allowing other teams to score easy goals. I think they're bound to finish with at least 15 more points during the season, but they're in a very competitive Metropolitan Division where you have the Rangers. The Penguins are still relevant. Carolina, Washington, the Islanders, Columbus is improved. Philadelphia is there. But they're in the division. John Tortorella is coaching a very young team. They're a very young team in Philadelphia too. So I think the Devils will improve. They'll improve by at least 15 points. But unfortunately, I don't see the playoffs this season. I think most Devils fans want to see the Devils go to the playoffs. I think if they stay healthy, they'll try to make a run. But at the end of the day, this team's still young. This team's still kind of finding their footing in terms of their identity. But I think once the right pieces come together, they'll make that step forward. Right now, it's a tiny baby step, and from a tiny baby step, it goes to a full sprint. They're on their way. They're on their way. It just won't be this season. And I'm sorry to end that segment on a bummer. I'm sorry to end this podcast on kind of a bummer, but better days are ahead, Devils fans. Better days are ahead. If you can't see it in Newark, at least look at it in Utica or at Glens Falls. I mean, come up to a game in Glens Falls. You might see me at the arena. You might see me at Cool Insuring Arena. So, yep. And that's gonna, that thing. I'll do it. I'll do it for this first episode. Less than 40 minutes. Guys. I know Gaz has his guys on the go for 40 minutes. I'm gonna end this in less than 40 minutes. So beat that, guys. In the meantime, subscribe to the podcast if you're listening on the audio side. Anchor is our home base, but you can find it on any preferred platform. Subscribe to Gozilla Media on YouTube. Give this video a like. Leave a comment. I may read it on the air. Again, keep it PG-13 if it's a comment. If a good comment, I may laugh at it. It might be, might just be sad. And find the show on Twitter at Devil's Donut Pod. I may be expanding to other social media channels, but right now Twitter is the primary one. Find it here on Twitter at Devil's Donut Pod. Folks, this is the end of the Have Another Donut, the New Jersey Devils podcast. Is presented by Gozilla Media. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I have been your humble host. Thanks for sticking with me, and we'll catch you next week for episode 2. And we'll do that hockey again every week on Have Another Donut. So thanks again. I appreciate you listening or watching, and we'll catch you next time. And until then, have another donut.
Because you fell, you fat pig!